Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be a part of their world. Today, we're kind of doing a unique episode where we share what we think are the most iconic cards in each color for each number. So, without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week, our last episode, we talked all about the things we're grateful for. And I just wanted to ask, James, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was great, actually. I had a lot of fun. There was this little thing that came out at Targets exclusively here in the US, a little first chapter gift box that was at a decent price, and I may or may not have gotten up at 4:30 in the morning on Black Friday and had my whole map routed for 6 different targets while I was visiting relatives in the Phoenix area, and I may or may not have found a stash of them on my 4th target.
Jeez. Okay. Yeah. So did you open any of them?
Oh, I opened a few.
and any
And
enchanteds? Did you get your Elsa?
No, but I did get these.
Oh, you know what? It seems like the enchanted pulls are really good for those.
Yeah, but that was out of 11 of them. I found 11. I got a lot.
11? Oh my gosh, James! But how many did you opened 11?
Yeah, I opened 11.
Wow. Okay. I did not buy any.
But for those listening and not watching, that was an Aladdin enchanted, which actually is the 3rd Aladdin I've pulled, and it is the least expensive first chapter enchanted, so that's not awesome. But the Aurora, I pulled the Aurora, and that is actually a new one for me. I am now missing 4 first chapter enchanteds.
So, not to get off your enchanted train here, but one of the things you said in our last episode was that maybe you were going to teach some of your family to play Lorcana. How did that go?
We were too busy, and it was just some of Beth's family. And it was only her dad and her grandma that we were visiting this time. The rest of the family couldn't make it, and they were both a little sick. So we didn't have really time to sit down and play some games. So I'm hoping maybe to take some decks, since I now have 22 first chapter starter decks because of these box sets. I'm going to take some with me when I go visit my family in a couple of weeks, and maybe we'll be able to sit down and play some games then.
Nice. My Thanksgiving was good. It was just my wife, my daughter, and myself. We had a nice turkey dinner, lunch, because my wife worked. I did not play Lorcana because I didn't have anybody to share with. So there we go. So hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. But I just want to say, before we start, this is something we've talked about a lot. I want to add yet another 2 examples of things that fans of Lorcana have complained about that Ravensburger has listened to. So I'm going to pull up the first one here on the screen. Okay, so one of the things, and I almost feel guilty because for the first time, the EU, maybe not the first time, but they got this exclusive promo card. And those of us here in North America were like, oh, why can't we get any? And now, look at this. Starting on Friday, 12/6, get a foil collectible Lorcana card when you watch Moana 2, available exclusively at Cinemark. So those of us in North America, and I think today they just announced that Canada was going to be getting the Moana cards too. So pretty much a worldwide available thing. What do you think about that, James?
I think it's cool, and I don't know why we couldn't have been told about it earlier. I mean, I don't think there's any way logistically to get these to theaters across America in a week. That this announcement came, and then they were available in a week. And also some of the theaters were handing them out on opening weekend. So they did have them in hand. So why didn't we know about it earlier? That's my only complaint, because I'm sure a lot of people were panic buying early because they didn't think they'd get them here in America, and they may have paid just a bit too much for them. Whereas, they could have gotten one just by buying a movie ticket instead of the $20 or $30 or whatever that they initially were, or even more. I think they actually were initially in the $50 or $60 range.
Jeez.
So I just think that if they were going to make the announcement, they should have made the announcement that they were available, everywhere as soon as possible. This one just came a little too late for me, I think. But it's nice that we got them. I love that we got them. That's not my complaint. The timing, I think, is the complaint.
Can always find something to complain about.
Right
after we're talking about Thanksgiving. But yeah, that is a strange decision. If the theaters already had them and they knew that they were going to distribute them, it's weird that they held back that announcement. So the other thing that I want to give props to Ravensburger for, let me pull this up on the screen. And we were talking about this. No.
What? Who?
Okay.
What?
Okay. Huh? Here we go.
There we
go. Okay. So it says North America qualified competitors will have a +1. More information will come from PPG. So one of the things that people had been kind of upset about was that in the EU, for the Continentals, the competitors were allowed to have a +1, to bring significant other, friend, whatever. But for North America, when it was originally announced, there was no word about a +1.
Right.
So a lot of people were upset about it. And once again, Ravensburger listened. And I mean, was this Ravensburger? Was this PPG? Was it Ravensburger putting pressure on PPG?
I think.
Was it just not communication?
Sorry, I think that was it. I think it was a miscommunication because what happened is someone asked on the PPG Discord server if, how do we get information on how to get our +1? Because everyone assumed they were going to get a +1 for competitors, just like the EU. And someone at PPG is like, there is no +1 included. And so that's what caused the uproar for a few days. And then once we came back from Thanksgiving, they were like, by the way, there's a +1. Don't worry, more information's coming. So I think it was just a bad timing of someone at PPG not knowing the answer or not being given the answer. And then having the holiday where no one could actually, no one was around to actually give the correct information for a few days. So, but as soon as they could, they did fix the issue.
Yeah. So again, I just want to give props to Ravensburger where props is due. It's easy for us to criticize them. It's important to make sure we recognize when they listen to the player base, which they've done time and time again. So
yeah. Now let's get into okay. So before again we get into the meat of the episode today, there's another issue that has arisen. So in Continentals, the players will be for the Swiss day 1, it will be a closed deck list. That means the deck list will be private, just like it is for challenges. On day 2, it will be open for the top 16, just like it is on day 2 of challenges. The issue is that the pool of people is much, much smaller. There's 96 competitors in the EU, and there will be 128 in North America. And according to the document of which a screenshot was shown of a piece of it, not only will the deck lists be closed, but if you are asked to be on stream for the broadcast, you cannot refuse, or you'll be given a game loss or a match loss, something like that. You're going to take a loss. So basically, the issue is that those who do not want to be on stream will be punished with a loss because it is mandatory. And the reasoning that people have for not wanting to be on stream is, I don't want people to know what my deck list is in advance. So for the first few matches of the day, no one's going to want to be on stream probably. That'll probably mean a little bit less as the day goes on because everyone will be talking or watching and seeing what's happening. But I think those first few rounds are going to be very important for a lot of people. And so a lot of people are calling for either this policy to not be mandatory or for it to be open deck lists from the beginning. One of the two. But they don't like the way it's written and what is happening right now.
Well, what do you think about that?
I think that it's definitely a problem. I think that the mandatory part of it, or getting a game or match loss, whatever it is, I think that that's a bit hard-handed. I think that's extreme. I understand that they need to have some stuff for the broadcast, and they usually have 4 that they record, but only 1 makes it to the feature match. I don't know if they're going to have an issue finding 8 people who want to stream each match, or if it's going to end up being the same 8 people out of 96. I'm sure there's a lot of people who will not want to be on stream because they don't want their deck to be known as easily. I don't know. I mean, not being in that situation and not really being, the hyper competitive player who may have come across this before, I'm not sure how I would react to that. I think it seems like a thing that I wouldn't want is someone to know what my deck is in advance, because that does give an advantage.
Here's what I think. I mean, I have a lot of things I think about this, but how many of the top players sell their deck list for $5 or $10 before DLCs? I mean, people like Artifacts, I bought his, player guide. People like Zan, and people like Zan, they just show their deck list. I mean, so I'm conflicted on the deck list thing. I don't think it's as, and this is coming from somebody who's a complete newbie. If you're competing at the level of Continentals, you're good. Like, you're going to be good. And I don't know if the deck list is as big of a deal. But the mandatory loss thing, that's what really gets me, because there truly are a lot of people. I mean, maybe not a lot of people, but there are people who have anxiety, like diagnosable anxiety, and being on stream or having their face shown and having people look at them is something that is very terrifying for them. But also at the same time, you're at Continental, so something like this I think is implicit when you're playing at high levels of play like that.
Right.
So
yeah.
But making it a mandatory loss, I don't like that.
No, I think that's the part that needs to change. Is they just need to, honestly, yes, they want people like Zan and Zach Bivens and all of these names that we've come to know. They want some of them on almost all the time for the recognizability and the fan factor. But I think they're just going to have to accept that they're just going to need to go down the list, and as soon as they get their 6 or 8 people that say yes, just be happy with getting those 6 or 8 people that you have to stream until, because on day 2, whoever makes it, they have to be on, because it's open deck list and it doesn't matter anymore. But also because it's day 2 and there's only 16 of them and everybody knows what they're playing now.
Honestly, I just think they should make all the deck list open.
I think that's what they should do as well.
That would be the easiest thing. And like I said, a lot of the good players are already putting their deck list out there. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how many people are going to be like, no, I'm not going to play, so nobody knows my secret tech.
Yeah, I think some people will have that, because some people do build decks based on whether it's open or closed.
Sure.
And apparently a lot of the other games, like Magic, I have heard, has been open deck list for major events for a long time, for this reason, that there is no longer the need for teams of scouts to go about and like watch people play and then write down their decks, so that they can tell it to their friends, which is what will happen if it's a closed deck list. There will be people attending the event whose sole purpose is to help their friends learn what everyone else's deck is.
Yeah, but they're going to have friends looking at other people's decks too.
Not necessarily. There are some people who are flying solo who may only have one friend, and that one friend may be like, I'm going to go play some side events. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think the easy way to fix this is make the deck list open and don't make the, not being on a stream match a mandatory loss.
I think that's, and the thing is that's the best fix, but it's also at this point that we're recording this 2 days before the European Championship starts, and I don't know if they can make that change.
All right, I guess we better rush this out tomorrow so they can hear us, because we record this on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually 3 days, I think, really, because it starts on Friday for the last chance qualifiers, but the actual championship doesn't start till Saturday.
There you
So I guess it's time to. The other news for last chance qualifying is that the North American tickets went on sale right after Thanksgiving, which was crazy.
And you got tickets.
I did. I'm going to be in a pod of 32, and we'll see how good my pod is, because I have to win 10 games.
You got this. No pressure.
10 games in a row. No, not necessarily. I could lose one here and there, but I have to win 10 games in 5 rounds, and I'm into the championship.
10 games in 5 rounds.
Yep, it's 5 rounds.
That means you have to win all of them. If you have to win 10 games.
It's win or lose. As soon as you lose a match, as soon as you go 0-2 or 1-2, you're out.
Well, I'd love to say that I'll be there supporting you, but I was not fortunate enough to score a ticket for an attendee ticket. I'm hopeful to get on the wait list. I'm on the wait list. I'm hoping to get off the wait list.
Yes, I've already seen people that have, so it's already happening. And I think that if you got on there fairly quick, hopefully you get in pretty soon, and you'll get one.
Oh, and I was refreshing like nonstop. So as soon as I saw the thing for the wait list, I signed up. But
Beth got a ticket. I think you had this happen too. You had tickets in your cart, a ticket in your cart, and went to go purchase it, and it just disappeared as soon as you hit the purchase button.
Twice. I even did the double pay for the double tap for the Apple Pay, and it buzzed, but then nothing.
Same thing happened to her, and she did it, I think, 3 or 4 times.
I was talking to somebody else on Twitter who had the same experience, so I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah. People at locals on Monday all had similar problems. Some got through and some didn't.
Anyway,
people got through.
Yep, last chance qualifiers. So we're excited about that. Okay, but let's get into today's discussion. And today's topic was inspired by a user from our Discord, Big Lou 154. Big Lou missed out. She'd been Big Lou 152. I'm just saying, it was right there. But Big
all
Lou
about the rhyming.
Let me pull up the exact wording of what he said. Okay. Big Lou asked, so in your just and honorable opinion, too kind, what cards are the most iconic at their respective ink cost? Like, what would be the iconic 1-drop, 2-drop, etc.? Now that every ink has their own iconic cards, do you think it's possible to pick a card for each ink at its cost? So today, James and I are doing part 1 of iconic Lorcana cards. We're going to go through all 6 colors, and we're going to do numbers 1, like 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, and 4 cost. So
24 cards each.
Yes. And I'm going to share my screen. And somebody had said last time I shared my screen, I didn't upload it in high definition. So I will do better this time. I will do better.
Maybe.
I will upload it in higher def. So, James, do you want to start or do you want me to start with
you can start.
Okay. So we are starting with 1 cost, and we're starting in amber. And the card that I chose, this one was so obvious. I mean, Daisy Duck. As soon as she was announced, it was very clear that she's going to be iconic. Sorry, Daisy Duck, Donald's Date, 1 cost. She's the one where when you quest, she has 1 strength, 4 willpower, so she survives steel. She lasts for a long time. She has 2 lore. She's uninkable, but she has that one where when you quest, the opposing player looks at the top card of their deck, and if it's a character, they get to put it into their hands. But this card makes aggro really good. This card is really good in Steel Song. Like any card that plays Amber is going to be benefited by playing this Daisy Duck here.
Yeah, the only reason you take it out is if it's not really an aggro build or close to it, or if you just are having way too many uninkables.
Yeah.
But still, you might throw 2 of them in just because it's such a good card.
Such a good card. And it's only a super rare.
Yeah.
$5.79. Okay. So let's take a look at the one that you chose, which
I think is
was
going to be the other obvious one.
yeah.
And that's the one that everyone playing against Steel Song on the draw despises. Because Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, one cost, 1/2 inkable, Singer 3 with 1 lore, has demolished many a one drop over the course of, what is it now, 4 sets since it's been released. It's crazy good. It is such a good card, and it is in every Steel Song build, and it stays there, and it will stay there probably forever because it is so good.
I mean, just the 1-2 punch of Cinderella, turn 1, and then singing Let It Go or Let the Storm Rage On. Sorry, not Let It Go. Strength of a Raging Fire.
Yeah.
But usually Let the Storm Rage On.
Storm refill, replaces itself. It's free because you're singing it. You likely have something out on as a 2-drop that is going to be devastating as well, like Smee or Ursula, the Ursula Vanessa, or the new Calhoun. Something that's a 2-drop that's going to just your opponent, now that their 1-drop is gone, is going to be like, well, how do I deal with this? And this is why Steel Song is so powerful on the play.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not so good when you're not on the play, but man, when you go first and you start with Cinderella, that is a very solid start to the game.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good pick. Okay. So now we're going to go over to Amethyst, and maybe not the most iconic, but this is a card because Amethyst, I don't know. This was tough for me.
There are a lot of good 1-drops in Amethyst.
I went with a Very Merry Unbirthday from the most current set, and it's an action. It's a song. Each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their deck into their discard. I'm not going to say that this is like the most iconic 1-drop card, but what I like about this card is this card really kind of puts a mill on the deck for being a viable option to play. I've played with it. I played around with it. It feels really good to make your opponent discard 2. I've tried doing a mill deck. I don't know if it's quite it's almost there, but this card is definitely one of the key factors in that.
Yes. And I think this one's going to be pretty obvious because this is the most iconic 1-drop possible. And it's, of course, Olaf, Friendly Snowman. Just the vanilla 1/3 with 1 lore.
James,
and
why is this so iconic?
Because it's Olaf. No, actually, I picked this because it allows players to keep a 1-drop on the field for past turn 1, as we were mentioning with Cinderella's Storm, and the 2 damage that you can do starting on turn 1. This survives that, and so this is really the iconic version. And there's a 1/3 in every color, so it's kind of like paying homage to the 1/3 1-drop. But I picked it for Olaf's purpose.
I think one of the reasons that makes this iconic, and I put the 1/1/3 drop Minnie Mouse in there too, is that especially in the first 1, 2, 3 sets, those 1/3 drops really made Ruby Amethyst work. And
yes,
those of us who lived through that meta remembers what good of a deck, just how good that deck was. Like it was truly dominant, and Olaf and that Minnie Mouse were definitely features of that deck.
Indeed.
Okay, let's
go
to Emerald. Okay, the one that I chose is this guy right here. And maybe it's because I started playing Emerald Amethyst last set. I played a little bit, like I actually played it in the set championship for the Stitch. So I've been dabbling in Emerald Amethyst. But this Cursed Merfolk is so good.
It is.
It's a 1 cost, uninkable, has 2 lore though. And again, whenever this character is challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. And this, like, cards that make your opponent have to make a decision are always a good card. It's one thing if you play this card on turn 7 and the opponent has no cards in their hand, like whatever, this card's not as good. But in the beginning game, when the opponent has mulliganed for their hand and they have their ideal hand, to lose any one of those cards is not an ideal scenario. But they also don't want you questing for 2 or 3 turns. So
Right.
this card just puts your opponent in a pickle, and it's a good card.
It's a very good card. I love it. That's why it's still in my deck.
Yeah.
And I picked one that, again, may not be seen as extremely iconic.
I'm looking for him.
It's got a load.
There he is. There he is.
And it is the Duke of Wesselton.
James, are you just choosing Frozen cards here?
No, actually, this one has a very specific reason. It's a 1-drop, 2/2, generic vanilla, but it has the card where the Duke is investigating the purple something in the art. And this is one of the few first chapter cards that is the story of Lorcana front and center in the card art. And I thought that was really cool. And I think that makes this iconic because we were talking about this card and the Mickey where he was investigating the little purple whatever, as well, the tendril of something. And I think those cards were really fun in having us guessing what was happening in the Great Illuminary and what kind of story was developing. And I think this one is iconic because it was part of that story.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, let's take a look here, James. I left this one obviously for you. Diablo.
I was gonna pick the Diablo, but then I'm like, you know what? I think that we need to pay homage to the fact that there is a story running through the cards, and I think that one was a very good choice.
Pegasus,
yes, Pegasus, Fred, the new mosquito bite.
right?
All kinds. The Clarabelle, all really good 1-drops, all very vital 1-drops currently. But I just wanted to go with one that put the story front and center.
All right. Okay.
Got to throw a curve every once in a while.
That's right. So for Ruby, you and I both went back to set 1. And I chose Minnie Mouse for the exact same reasons that I was talking about with Olaf. So for everything that I said about Olaf, just copy, paste. Anything to say about Minnie?
She's always classy.
The only thing I'd add is, for whatever reason, this Minnie Mouse definitely saw more play than Olaf.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Then mine was Shield of Virtue, going back to, again, like I said, all the way back to the first chapter when this card was a menace. Once Ruby Amethyst got up to enough ink in the control game, they would just sit there and bash something twice with Maui, or unexert something that they quested with so you couldn't get it, or they'd quest and then they'd challenge into something. Basically, this card was annoying, and it still can be annoying and is annoying if it's put into the right builds, because I think this card still does get some play here and there. So
I think if there's like a Ruby Sapphire item deck, that's where I would see the most play.
Yeah. And at one cost to play, but of course, you have the exert and 3 costs to use. But again, in Ruby Sapphire, ink isn't an issue.
It's true.
But yeah,
all right.
It was a menace.
Okay, so obviously this is my homerism coming out here. I'm a Flounder stan. That's I don't know. Flounder and I are forever connected here. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell James that, I'm not gonna sit here like James and be like, oh, this is iconic to the story. Well, it's kind of not, but it's iconic to me. So
it's iconic to a lot of people now. Flounder. I mean, I did actually hear Steve Warner reference in another podcast that Flounder may be one of the most, like, the greatest character to come out of or something. I don't know how it was in reference to, but basically he's like, it's Flounder, right? Like with what's the card? I think it was on the Forbidden Mountain, maybe.
Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna have to start pumping out more Flounder memes again. Kind of fan the flames.
Got to get this one, and you got to get the glow up version done by James Mulligan. Get that glow up version out there. Do some memes with that one.
The one thing I remember about this, and for those of you who were around in the early days, I used to make an untold amount of Flounder memes, and this was back when Ravensburger, like, the game was still under wraps. We didn't know much, but once they were able to start talking, they're like, Yeah, we shared a lot of your memes around the office, like, and Flounder was a lot of those. So
Indeed. Flounder can beat anybody, right?
that's right.
Mine is my pick for in the Sapphire is the Popsicle. One cost item, draws you a card when you play it, so it replaces itself. Banish it to remove 2 damage, which is used. The effect is used about 5 to 10% of the time, because this item exists solely to power Hiram Flaversham's draw engine. And
You
it
said
is.
Hiram.
I did.
Oh, that was just for me, James.
I've
Thanks.
been practicing it, making sure I say it right all the time. But no, this card is powerful. It is amazing. It replaces itself, and it allows Hiram to draw 2 on his ability. So yeah, this card is definitely amazing, and it's all started in, I think it's a set 2 card. So
Yep.
yeah, it's been going for a while, and it's still getting played, and it's still important and in the meta game.
As long as Hiram's around, that Popsicle will always be played.
Yep.
For a very similar reason, on Steel for my 1 cost, I chose the Fortisphere. Again, like you say, this card is never played for this second effect here that allows your character to be a bodyguard. It's solely played to replace itself, so you can draw a card, and for Hiram to banish. So, again, copy paste everything that you said about Popsicle.
Exactly. Okay, for my Steel, I'm going to pick the Captain Hook Forceful Duelist from the first chapter. And this is a couple of reasons. One is the one you scrolled down to. It's because it's the very first Steel card ever revealed as part of the D23 set. So it's very iconic just for being the first one. And this is the card that, along with the Stitch, when you looked at it, if you looked at the art, you could see things like Hook has a sword for a hand instead of a hook. Mm-hmm. And he's got a fairy trapped in the lantern. And this card allowed us to see just the scope that Lorcana was going to go with, how they were going to be able to alter things even just a little bit to give us so many versions of these characters. And also with the Challenger +2 on there, and everybody discussing what Challenger +2 meant, and what does it mean to challenge, and what is challenge?
Oh man, yep.
But that's iconic. That's why this one is iconic, I think. Plus, it's also a really good card.
It's a really good card. It's a cool looking card. I was also this close to choosing this card. But yeah. Okay, so that's it for the 1 cost cards. What do you guys think? Did we miss anything? If you had any 1 cost cards that you liked that we missed, drop them in the comments down below. That's my shameless plug at listener engagement there. and I'm not very good at it, so there we go. Okay, so we're moving on to 2 costs now. We're going back to Amber. There's so many in Amber.
There's a lot, yes. There's a lot of really good cards, but how many are iconic?
I decided to go with originally I was thinking about Sleepy's Flute, but I decided to go with Lantern. Lantern doesn't see as much play these days, but in the early days of Lorcana, this card was found in every single Steel Song deck, which behind Ruby Amethyst was probably the most popular deck back in the early days. Just having that effect to reduce the cost of your next character by 1. As soon as you got this on board, even sometimes the turn you got it on board, like you pay 2 ink, and then you can, well, no, okay, because you have to pay 1. But okay, but if you got it online on turn 3, you could exert it and play a 1 cost character. So it's just a really good card. Provides lots of value.
Yeah. No, you could play it on turn 2 and play a 1 cost for free.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep,
yeah.
You're right. So it can you can play down a Stitch new dog on turn 2, and then have them ready to go for turn 4 when Rockstar is ready to start rocking.
Exactly. I picked a song for my 2 cost, the Bare Necessities. This is the one that allows you to look at your opponent's hand and discard a non-character card of your choice. And I picked this one because it was the card that started the negation of the power of be prepared.
Yes.
It allowed players to finally have an answer to be prepared, that they could snag it from hands before it was played against them. And so I think it's iconic mainly for that reason, that it finally gave an answer when we didn't have one.
Yeah, be prepared and a whole new world both.
Yep. And now
But-
anything that, now that there's, locations, it can take locations, it can take items, any action, location, or item, it can just yank out of their hands.
Yeah, it's a card that only gets better with time.
Yep.
Okay, for this one, I chose for 2 cost and Amethyst. I went back to set 1. Wait, why did I don't think this is the broom that I was thinking of.
It's
But
the broom.
well, we'll roll with it. Okay. So I chose the 2 cost broom from set 1. The reason why I like this is because you can sweep a card back into your deck, or if there's a card you don't want your opponent to get back into their hand, like if they're playing some type of recursion, then you can sweep it back into their deck. But I guess the thing that makes this iconic was because from set 1, they were dropping these breadcrumbs about a broom deck. This was really the only thing that we had in set 1, and then set 2 came, and there's a lot more brooms. I think last set broom decks
None.
are okay. Yeah, was it 2 sets ago?
Both, yeah, they got the final, the Yensid and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a meme deck, but they put most of the pieces there for a broom deck. There's still a little bit more that could be done, but you could make a broom deck and have some fun.
Yeah, there's a player at Locals that has the broom deck, and he is very sad that for the last 2 sets there have been no new brooms.
Oh, that's sad.
I picked, and I had a hard time picking this one, but I picked a representative of the bounce package, the Madam Nim Snake, which coming in again in set 2 just turned the game around and was so dominant that even though in set 1 we had the dominance of Ruby Amethyst, there were still a couple of decks with Amber Steel and Amber Sapphire that were able to fight against it. But with this bounce package coming into the game,
so good.
That was done. Ruby Amethyst was the only deck in set 2 that had any chance of really winning. This is, of course, 2-drop, 3/3, Madam Im Snake. When you play it, you have to return a character to your hand or banish this card. And I don't think that anybody has ever banished this card.
Oh, yeah, that bounce package is iconic, and I think we're going to see at least one more card from that package on our list before we're done.
Yeah, and I was very close to picking the Pinocchio that exerted a card, because that really enabled some decks to get even better. But
I remember you and Eric used that one a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, for Emerald, I chose. Where is she?
All the way down. There you go.
Well, this is a version of her, but Ursula. There we go. We'll show the pretty version. Ursula Deceiver. And for a lot of the same reasons I were talking about with the Bare Necessities, this was kind of the first time that we found hand manipulation.
Yeah. And it came out in the same set.
Yeah. Did it?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, just having that ability to rip a song out of people's hands feels so good. And then with the big 7-cost Ursula, I know it's not like a meta deck, but there was, a version of Emerald Amethyst that found that as a viable play line, having that big Ursula, which when she got on the board, that felt really good.
That shift Ursula helped me win my set champs that I won the That one came down in a Ruby Sapphire match that my opponent, I had played both a Clarabelle and an Ursula down on a turn. And he's like, well, surely he's not playing the Ursula. He's playing the Clarabelle, so I better get rid of that one. with my removal, and he left the Ursula, and the Ursula came down, and he couldn't sing anymore. I had a nice big three lore body on board. It's like, too bad, picked the wrong one.
That ability to prevent your opponent from singing is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, and you chose.
I chose Space Goo
right here.
Morph, who is a 2-cost 2/1, and the ability. This character can be shifted onto by any character. He's any name for shifting purposes. And this one is iconic because it doesn't matter how long this game goes on until this card is removed from official play. It's just going to get more and more powerful. There are so many options for shifting. You have to use Emerald, but there's so many good characters in Emerald, and there's so many good characters to shift onto in any color you would play this with, that this is always an option to put into a deck because of its ability to be shifted onto.
Yeah, agreed.
And also to hide what you may be shifting.
Yep, agreed. This is a very good card, and it's just going to get, like you said, keep getting better with time. All right, let's move on to Ruby. I chose this card right here, Teeth and Ambitions, and maybe my iconic status is a reflection of the set 2, set 3 meta.
When it was so oppressive.
Ruby Amethyst is giving me some flashbacks here, but this card, for a lot of the same reasons that we were talking about, Cinderella being so good, singing Let the Storm Rage On to get rid of your opponents. This card, unless you are playing an Olaf or a Mini or one of those other 1/3 characters, a lot of times this card would single-handedly remove your opponent's board state and put you in a good position to just control the board.
Yeah, and being a song made it so powerful, being able to be sung as well.
Yeah.
Because you could sing it with the card you dealt the damage to, which is crazy.
So that's a good card, and I think it still sees some play, but definitely not as much.
No.
Your card, though.
My card I picked, it's the Flynn Frenemy from, I think it's set 4, 2/2, 1 lore. But the ability that at the start of your turn, if you have a character in play with more strength than each opposing character, gain 3 lore. This turned Ruby Amethyst into a much faster deck. Less of a control deck, more of a, well, guess what? I can earn lore really quickly now, too. So what are you going to do?
I wasn't prepared for this card the first time I played against it. I had a deck that did not have a lot of high will-powered characters. I think they had a lot of high lore. Right. And my opponent got 2 of these guys on boards, and the game was
game over like turn 5 or something, right?
GG. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it completely changed how Ruby Amethyst was played from turn 2 on. Now you would, less the shift package and the Teeth and Ambitions that we just showed of controlling the early game, to where now it's like, well, now what are you going to do? You have to try and answer this. And then, of course, the 3-drop Sisu that came down that would have who knows what strength. So, yeah, it just changed the way Ruby Amethyst was played. And I think that's why it's iconic.
I would not argue with that. All right. Here's my fanboy coming out again. But for Sapphire, I chose Oswald, and yes, I know haters are gonna say that Oswald is actually not that great. He hasn't really broken out in any major deck that I found, and he's a little clunky. But you know what? He's iconic because Oswald is Walt Disney's first, major animated character. And as we've talked about in the past, he has the craziest story on how Disney reacquired him. Mm-hmm. And just the fact, I have my Oswald hat on, okay? Just the fact that he showed up in Lorcana is pretty iconic.
Also, the fact that he was revealed for set 6 long before anything else from set 6 was revealed. He's like that sneak reveal, right?
Yeah.
That was very cool.
That was fun.
So I'm going to go back all the way back, and mine is one jump ahead. The 2-cost song that allows you to put a card from the top of your deck face down into your inkwell exerted. This was along with the Mickey, the driving force of the ramp package
Yes, it
from
was.
the get-go. And it wasn't until this set, I feel like, where this card finally became less useful with Sail the Azurite Sea. So this card was like one of the ramp cards you needed for 5 sets. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty iconic. So that's why I included this.
Yeah. Who's the ramp player here?
Not me.
Let's see. I was originally gonna choose the new Calhoun for this, but I was like, no, I bet James will pick that. You didn't. So, but I Steel's another one that has a lot of good 2-drops.
Yeah.
I chose this Mr. Smee here. For a lot of the same reasons I chose that Daisy Duck in Amber for 1 cost. Has that 2 lore, has 3 strength and 3 willpower on a
So
2
powerful.
cost body. Yeah. And he has that ability where you deal 1 damage every time he's exerted and there's no captain on board. But if you're designing around that, you could easily have a captain on board. And it's a very powerful presence to have on the board on turn 2.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It stops that Flynn. It can run into almost anything the opponent would play until Daisy on turn 1 or 2, and sometimes even turn 3. So yeah, it was definitely, and still is, a powerful card. It is still in steel decks today.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Calhoun's not changing that because the Calhoun is uninkable. But I did not pick the Calhoun. I picked the other really powerful uninkable 2-drop that has changed how some decks are built, and that is Doc Bold Knight, a 1/3/1 lore. But his ability is when you play this character, you may discard your hand to draw 2 cards. And I have had this played against me, and it is so aggravating for them to be like, oh, and I have my last card, and oh, wait, it's Doc, and now I have 2 more cards to start my next turn with. And it is frustrating. And when I've played with it, it is so nice having that extra little bit of draw. This card is very good, and I think it's going to be very good going forward for a very long time. And now with the Seven Dwarves Mine getting some play, it makes that even so much better, being able to move this, because you're playing this anyway for the draw, and now you can get some extra damage out of it. It's really good.
My only real experience with this card was at Sealed in the Vegas DLC. I had this in my deck. I think I had 2 copies. It was such a boss card. So good.
So good. In Sealed, it's amazing because you're gonna be running out of cards, like by turn 4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we might cap this off on card cost 3 for this episode, James.
Might make it a 3-parter.
We might make it a 3-parter. Okay. So probably one of the most not only iconic cards of Amber, but maybe of all of Lorcana. This one was so easy for me to pick.
Yeah.
Was this Ariel Spectacular Singer, 3 cost. Singer 5. I mean, how many times? Well, you played Still Song. Yes. How many times did you play against Still Song? They played Ariel turn 3. They were able to find a whole new world, and then turn 4, goodbye your hand. Talk about aggravating. That was aggravating.
You see him grab it on turn 3, and then you spend your turn 3 or whatever it is, like looking at your hand, going like, how can I get rid of the most cards possible?
Yes.
Even if it's a bad play, now I have to make bad plays to get rid of cards to make some use out of this hand. Otherwise, there goes 4 or 5 cards.
And this was set 1, and it's still
still
an iconic
powerful
card. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It now enables Naveen, who can come down on 4, and whatever she finds, Naveen can sing it for free and still have Ariel available to sing whatever you find. Like if it is a whole new world, you now have a fresh set of 7 cards that Ariel can sing any song in there. Yeah. It's crazy.
Grab your swords. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yep. Great card.
Okay. All right. You surprised me with this card here.
I'm going for the left field pick here with this uncommon Mickey True Friend 3/3 with 2 lore, and I picked this because this is the card that welcomes you to Lorcana. I mean, that's exactly what's happening on this card. It's iconic, right? It's so iconic that this is the card that they used for the very first Japanese and Chinese cards. This is the card that they are using for the very first quest card, where you can get a signature from a character on a Lorcana card, and they printed the signature line on the card. So I think that this is iconic for that purpose of it being your welcome to Lorcana and being used in so many ways as the first for some Lorcana things.
Yeah.
Also a pretty good card on its own, especially in the first chapter when there wasn't a whole array of special abilities. Being able to quest for 2 lore on turn 3 is always going to be good, especially in sealed events.
Yeah. Nope, you make a good case. The only thing they missed out on was 3 strength or 3 cost, 3 strength, 3 willpower. Should have been 3 lore.
Yeah.
Just saying, consistency matters.
That would have been way too powerful.
Yeah, it would have. Okay. For a 3 cost amethyst, I went ahead and went with the library. And again, 3 cost amethyst has so many good cards. I probably could have chosen 3 or 4 others, but I went with the library. I think it's a great location. 3 costs. Only costs 1 to move there, but has 8 willpower, and it gets you 1 lore at the start of each of your turn. However, the ability says whenever a character is banished while here, you may draw a card. And how many cards in Amethyst have the, when this character quests, you may banish and draw a card, or when you play a card, banish this character and draw a card. So
there are 3 1-drop Amethyst cards that draw you a card, either on banished or you banish it to draw a card. It's crazy. It's crazy, and there's 1 2-drop that I can recall right now. So 4 cards in the first 2 turns that you're going to have in play, ready to go when this card hits the board.
Yeah, so I mean, locations, like obviously there are a few locations that really stand out, but this is one of the locations that really makes sense for people to actually play locations, because a lot of them are just, does this really make sense? But this is one of them that makes sense.
Yeah, lots of sense. And of course, my pick is the gold standard.
Just teasing.
The gold standard for card draw in Lorcana, and that's Friends on the Other Side, the 3-cost song that draws you 2 cards. You can play it for free when you sing it. It's what happened from the very beginning. It's one of the cards that made Amethyst builds, and Ruby Amethyst in particular, so powerful because they could refill their hand so much easier and faster than any other color. It's crazy.
Card draw is one of the best abilities, if not the best ability. And the fact that this is a song that can be sung by a character like the 3-drop Maleficent and replace itself twice over. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's an amazing card. And I mean, still getting played, of course, still useful.
Yep. All right.
I really like your choice for 3-drop because it shouldn't have been here.
Well, yes. This should have been the other. This should have been a 2-drop.
Should have been a 2-drop, and I think that means everybody knows what we're talking about.
I had to go with Bucky Squirrel Squeak Tutor. The first, the only, not banned card, but significantly eroded card that, made it unplayable. This card was such a menace. And I know, maybe it wasn't this card itself, it was all the tools around it, but this card enabled all that other stuff to just work so much better. And I'm sorry, but losing your entire hand by turn 4 was not a fun way to play Lorcana.
No, and not because you were able to play your cards and have some ink and cards on the board, but no, because they were in your discard thanks to this little guy. Yeah. Iconic
there was a lot of weeping and there was a lot of rejoicing when this card got its nerf.
How does Lorcana spell errata? BAN.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Okay. You chose probably one of the other most iconic cards in the
Yeah.
game.
Good old Diablo, the worst legendary, one of the worst legendaries in the
Oh, yeah.
Inkland set,
This card is trash.
according to one of the, I would say, least reputable podcasts available today.
Who's that, James?
I'm just kidding. No, we messed up on this one. This card is as some people have put it, this card shapes the meta because of decks needing to have an answer to it. Because when this card comes down, your opponent is going to outdraw you no matter what you do, because they're going to draw every time you do, and they get all of their own draw as well. So
Yeah,
the
unless you have an
Diablo,
immediate answer, this
yeah,
card is just gonna bulldoze you over.
and the fact that you can shift it just by discarding an action card, which means there's no ink cost, so you can both shift it and however much ink you have on that turn, you can spend all of it on other things. It's incredibly powerful. So this is a 3 cost, of course. It's a 2/2. It has evasive and the ability, when it's exerted, you get to draw every time your opponent does.
Yeah, that evasive factor, so good.
Yeah. Which there are so many answers to it, but you have to have them, and you have to build your deck to include them, even if you don't want to.
And I'm pretty sure it's a rule in Lorcana that if your opponent is playing Diablo, they have the baby Diablo and the shift Diablo in action every time. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
it's
that's a
pretty
rule.
much a rule. Yeah, when you have to win the game, they have it.
Oh boy. All right. So I guess we'll talk about one of the answers for Diablo. It's not a great answer, but this is the one that I chose for Ruby. Again, Ruby's another one that had a lot of great 3-cost cards, but I went with Brawl. This card is just so good at disrupting your game board. And when I first saw this, I didn't think it was that good because it only banishes a chosen character with 2 strength or less. It's a common. But you think about, maybe this is just me as a Sapphire player, but you think about all the cards that are 2 strength or less, Hiram, that can be banished by a 3-cost card. Yeah, this card can definitely change the tempo of a game.
Yes, it's a very annoying card because all of a sudden that cool card that you just played, if it's got 2 strength, it's in danger, isn't it?
The only thing that makes this card like fair is that it's not a song.
Yeah, it'd be broken if it was a song.
It really
So
would. Okay, yours right here.
Stylish Surfer Minnie Mouse, the evasive 1/3 with 2 lore. This card was awesome when it came out. It lasted for a few sets, and now it's not really used anymore. But I think it's iconic just because it's an awesome card. It's got awesome art, and it really did help. Just like Flynn really changed the game, this helped Ruby Amethyst just go even faster and be so much more dominant because now instead of just control, you had early lore that you could race your opponents who had lore, easy lore gains early as well.
And not just early lore, but there weren't, like, this came out in set
It's set 2.
set 2, Rise of the Floodborn. There weren't a lot of good answers for evasive cards in other inks at that time. So this card just stuck on the board forever, unless you had a smash.
Or you were playing a mirror match and you had the crab answer to where you could have a Minnie Mouse on board and play your crab to give it, and then your mini could take out their mini.
Yeah,
that's the only way. And then they'd have to Dragonfire it later or
right,
whatever.
And using a Dragonfire on that did not feel good.
No.
All right, you were talking about the ramp package, and I for my Sapphire 3-cost item or card, I chose probably one of the most iconic cards of the ramp package, and that is Fishbone Quill, which allows you to exert and put any card from your hand into your inkwell, including uninkable cards.
Yes.
And again, this one I think is just now in this last set or two it's in a place where we don't necessarily need Fishbone Quill, but it carried the ramp package for the first 3 or 4 sets.
Yes. And I think it's just this last set where it's finally maybe not included, because in the last set, I think it was just maybe lowered 1 or 2 in some packages, but it's still a very powerful card. So it's just a little too slow.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of problems trying to find a 3-drop Sapphire that was iconic like Fishbone is. So I picked the one that is iconic in kind of a different way. It's the Alice Legendary from Rise as well. Growing Girl with the ability, while this character has 10 strength or more, she gets +4 lore, and also the ability that every character in play that you have has support now. The thing with this is that when it came out, everyone's like, this is pretty cool. And then no one has been able to figure out how to make it work in a deck.
I know.
Now that may change with the new set. Someone may figure it out. But again, we may just be disappointed yet again. So this card is iconic for being one of the coolest cards with an ability that you think is going to be extremely usable, and has proven set after set to not be usable.
One of these days.
Support is just like that keyword that you're like, it's got to be good, right? And then no one can figure out how to make it be useful as an overall deck theme. It's like every once in a while you'll have a card that has it that does good in a deck, but as a deck theme, nope.
Yeah. Yep, I'd agree. All right, moving on to Steel. This is a card that you've heard us talk about a few times already, and that is Let the Storm Rage On. For all the reasons that we talked about, it could be sung by Cinderella. It deals 2 damage. It draws a card, controls the early, board state of your opponent. Just a great card, and it's a common. It's a common.
Yeah. And there's almost no time where you don't want to have something like this, because, like you say, it replaces itself. So even if you just have to sing it to get some damage out, even on your own character, it's useful just to get that extra card draw, because you're just going to get through your deck just a little bit faster and find a card you may need. So yep. That's why it's better than the other 3-drop Steel Song, the Strength of Raging Fire.
Yeah.
But my pick is the card that shaped the meta when it came out and continues to do so, and that is Mr. Pete, the game's referee, with the ability, when you play this character, opponents can't play actions until the start of your next turn. He's a 3-drop, 3/3 with 1 lore, and decks are built to avoid Pete, to get around Pete in some way. So now Big Sisu became more of a thing in Ruby decks, and Be Prepared lost some of its usefulness because of this card. And when you can shape a deck like that to make someone put a different card in their deck solely for this card, then that makes it a very iconic and powerful card.
Especially when it's a card as powerful as Be Prepared. Like, if you're making your opponent think twice about including a card like that, it's a good card.
Yep.
All right, yeah. So let's call it at the 3 characters here. We'll probably have to do this as a 3-part series.
That's fine. It'll last us the rest of the year, right?
Right. So again, if you agree, disagree with our rankings, leave a comment down below. Let us know where we went wrong, what you would choose instead. It's all for fun. So
this was for fun. I thought we were picking the cards that would be enshrined in the Lorcana Hall of Fame as the most iconic cards of all time.
It's true. Well, they're in the Citizens of Lorcana Hall of Fame. There you go.
Okay.
So we had another user submitted question from Martin Karp, where it was asked, from each TCG you've played, who would you pick to be Santa? Which was an interesting question, but Christmas is coming up, so I was like, that could be fun. So the games that I've played are Lorcana, Pokemon, My Hero Academia, and the Star Wars Decipher CCG. So I will start with Lorcana. Gosh, I was thinking about this earlier today. Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. He's kind of got that big, friendly, kind of a big belly. Perfect Santa. Winnie the Pooh. Maybe I'm going for obvious ones here. For Pokemon, I was thinking Snorlax. Again, similar build to Winnie the Pooh, so a lot of the same reasons. But I guess Delibird is right there. Like Delibird kind of makes a lot of sense too. But I'm going to stick with Snorlax. My Hero Academia, I would have to go with All Might. Number one, he's my favorite. Number two, he's like a buff Santa build. And he's happy. He's always happy. He's always got a smile on his face, and he's always here. For Star Wars, I'd have to go Chewie, Chewbacca. I don't know, something about Chewie dressed up in a Santa hat, slinging a bag over his back, just seems iconic. So those are my choices.
I'm gonna pick Decipher as well, because the Star Wars game as well. Even though I didn't play it, I did collect it, and I'm going to pick R2D2 because I would have picked Chewie as well, but I decided if I'm going to pick something different, it's going to be R2D2 because R2D2 is in everything Star Wars, and he's eternal, and so is Santa Claus. So
I like it.
I outplayed Marvel Overpower back in the day. And I'm going to pick Spider-Man because I've seen pictures of Spider-Man in Santa hats, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? That works. He can fly. He can swing around and just drop stuff in, and he can fit into tight places because he's Spider-Man. So it makes sense.
Makes sense.
And for Lorcana, I am going to pick Kristoff because he already has a head start because he has a reindeer.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's a good. That's an excellent choice. All right, so I guess that's it as far as user questions. If you have anything you would like us to answer with our deep thoughts here on the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, feel free to drop a question in the Discord, or if you tag me on Twitter, I will see it on there too. So today I'm resurrecting a ghost of Christmas past, and James, you and I used to do Disney Jeopardy every episode, and I have got Disney Jeopardy questions ready to go. Are you ready?
I'm gonna go 5 for 5, right?
5? Well, maybe. Depends on how well you know Disney's A Christmas Carol, the animated version. So let's begin. Okay, for 100, this is the ghost of Christmas past.
Christmas past? Man, I haven't seen this in so long. Christmas past.
Would you like me to give you hints?
Sure.
It's a character from Pinocchio.
From Pinocchio?
From Pinocchio.
Really? I don't know. Geppetto.
He's always telling you to let your conscience be your guide.
Jiminy Cricket? Really? That's crazy talk.
I'm sure Beth will fact check me here, but I made sure to look
these in the room right now.
I made sure to look these up. Okay, this one I think you're gonna get.
Okay,
this is the ghost of Christmas Present. Remember, he's in the room. He's a big giant. Oh, and he's got this feast.
Is it big? It's not Pete, is it?
It is not Pete.
Oh, is it the giant from Mickey and the Beanstalk?
Yes, it is. Okay. Willie.
That he has a name?
Willie the Giant.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, technically the one you're thinking of I think is Gustav, but there's another Gustav. Short with Willie. And yeah, so the ghost of Christmas Present is. You are not going for 5 for 5 today.
Apparently not. I think it's been probably at least a decade since I've seen Mickey's Christmas Carol. So
I'm sorry. Okay. However, the you already for this next question, you already used this as an answer for that you got wrong for a prior question. So This is the Ghost of Christmas Future.
And I already used it?
You use this to guess the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Pete.
There you go.
Hey.
You got it.
I only answered 2, so that was a good one.
You have a better memory than me. I would not remember what I had said. So, okay, for 400.
Okay. Uh-oh.
This one, there's no way you're going to get this one. I'm
Bet.
sorry. This is the name of the girl that Scrooge let go in his younger life when they're showing like the Ghost of Christmas Past. Well, this is the name of the girl.
Yeah, I don't know. Edie.
Isabel. Okay. Sorry, James.
Well, no, this is good content because everyone on the other side of the screen is like yelling at me and shaking their fist and being like, "Why couldn't you get that right?"
I think they're probably yelling at me like, "Why would you ask James these questions?" So, for 500, this is the character. This is the Disney character who played Fezziwig. So, setting the context here. So, Ghost of Christmas Past. You're going back to that time where Scrooge is in the dance hall. He's dancing with Isabel, and Fezziwig is on the hay bales playing a violin or a fiddle or whatever he's playing.
Clarence.
It is not Clarence. The character is an amphibian.
Horace.
An amphibian.
An amphibian? Who's an amphibian? A frog?
Yeah. Or oh, what's another amphibian? A frog or a
Toad?
Toad? Yes.
It's Mr. Toad?
It's Mr. Toad.
Really? How could he hold a fiddle? Fiddle's like 100 times bigger than him.
Dude, don't overthink this, okay? Hold on. I am.
You bringing up a picture of it?
I'm bringing up a picture.
Nice.
Come on. Okay. I want to maximize.
I really need to watch this now because I seriously don't remember any of it.
Okay, this is not the best image to share, but it's what I've got. So let's get rid of you.
My mind has been warped because we've watched Muppet Christmas Carol like at least every other year for the last decade.
Maybe that's what I should have done was Muppet Christmas Carol. Do you see this Toad right here?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Toad. All right. Well, that is it for today, unless there's any news that I missed.
I can't think of anything. I mean, I'm sure there is something. But
yeah.
There should have been this week should have been a Lorecast based on the timing of previous sets, and we did not get one.
Well, and the other thing that I was thinking of was it had been going around the internets that Worlds was going to be held in March, but Rochelle came out and said that they've never said when Worlds was going to be held. So
yeah. So we still don't even know if it's what month it's in officially. We don't know.
Right.
It could still happen in March, but officially we don't know.
Yep.
They can neither confirm nor deny what month it is in at this point in time. And of course, by the time this comes out, they may announce it because who knows what will happen in the next 2 days.
We have the power.
Yeah, but if Lorecast is not this week, then I'm guessing it may be next week. Or will we even get a Lorecast at all for the next set until next year?
Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe they'll reveal some stuff maybe they'll reveal some stuff over the weekend at the championship.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say, and with the EU championship being this weekend, it would make sense that they wouldn't have a Lorecast on the same.
Wait till next week. Wait till next week. Let the championship take the news.
But an announcement would be nice. Like it would be cool to know.
Yeah, right.
It'd be cool to know.
We'll
even if we weren't going to have one, it'd be cool to know.
And what do you think of this thing? You think like we're upgrading a little bit, little by little? This podcast is getting upgraded like 1% at a time.
That's right. We've been at this for almost 2 years. We're streaming in video, and we have our logo in the background now. So anyway, All right, I'm carrying on now. If you liked what you heard, you can subscribe to us on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can follow us on YouTube. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And apparently, I did a Google search for Citizens of Lorcana. You know how it auto-populates searches? One of the top searches was Citizens of Lorcana Blue Sky. So you can also find me on Blue Sky as Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere online at Dan Regal. And thank you all again for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.